Hey, welcome to my channel. This video is a compilation of my last 20 tower block DIYs.
For this DIY you need 72 blocks, which is one pack of tower blocks, and some wood glue. And I'm just gluing together 12 blocks in this pattern. You could do them all facing the same way if you want to. And always make sure I wipe off any excess glue with a damp cloth. Now I'm gluing 2 tower blocks to each side of this piece. And then I made 2 of these because one is the base, one is the lid. But you can leave off these side pieces and add them onto the next part that I'm going to do, because I wasn't sure how I was going to do the sides yet, but I knew that I wanted to have the lid look like this. And now I'm just making 4 sets of 4 blocks, like 2 high with their ends glued together, and then I glued together 4 sets of 2. I'm turning the first one over, and this is going to be the lid, and then I am gluing each of these pieces. So for the lid you could just make 4 sets of 4 tower blocks, and then for the base it would be 3 sets of 6 tower blocks. Now I'm going to glue the other pieces onto the base, and I didn't turn that upside down. I didn't put any feet on the bottom of this, but you could do that if you wanted to. I'm going to glue 2 tower blocks in each corner, and that's for more support and also to keep the lid on. I watered down some Waverly Antique Wax, and then I'm just going to brush that on all over. You can paint or stain it any colour you want. After I painted it, I just dried it off with a heat gun, and it dries really quick. I was going to stain it, but I didn't want to go outside because it was late at night. I have 2 packs of these laser cutouts from Dollar Tree, and I picked these leaves. I'm just going to brush some wood glue on the back of them. I did paint one white because I had another pack, but I didn't like how it looked, so I'm just going to leave them plain. But you can always change the colour of them. You could always use any of the other laser cutouts. You could put a piece of scrap paper in here. There's lots of different options for you to do. I thought I'd start off with a nice simple box. It's easy to make because the other 2 boxes are got a lot more work on them. And I think it turned out really cute. You could always put a wee knob in the middle of it instead, to pull the lid up if you want to. In the next clip I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's open. For this DIY you need 130 blocks, which is 2 packs, and some wood glue. So I'm making a rectangle shape, so I'm gluing 4 blocks end to end along one side, and then 12 blocks going the other way, and have 2 rows of those, and then another 4 blocks along the top. And I make 2 of these because one is the lid and one is the base. I'm going to glue together 2 sets of 4 blocks. So I already made one that you can see there, one of these rectangles, and I'm just making a second one. But if you wanted your box to be taller, you could make more of these. And now I'm just gluing together 2 sets of 2, and then I'm going to make it into the rectangle. So I'm going to start building up the sides, and I'm gluing 2 tower blocks to each end. I don't know if I do each end. Yeah, I do. I do each end, and I'm placing them on the inside of the first tower block. And you see here I'm gluing these ones in the wrong place. They're supposed to be on the other side of that first tower block, so that you have a wee edge going around. I'm not sure when I realise. But at least you can see where not to place them. This is when I realised. But you can easily just wipe the glue off and then put them where they're supposed to go. And I'm leaving a gap in between the middle, like a tower block size gap, see, because I have to cut the tower blocks down to fit in those spaces. I'm just marking off with a pencil on one tower block, and I'm using my miter shears to cut them down. Some of them are easier to cut than others, and they do ping away. So these don't fit exactly in the gap, so I just left a little space on each side of them. You can fill it in with wood filler that if you want to, but I'm going to cover up these sides anyway, so you only see it from the inside, which you could also cover up with some fabric or something. I'm just taking my finger sander now and just sanding them down a little bit to make sure that they are the right height, the same height as the other ones. Because I'm going to glue one of those rectangles on top of that. And now I'm going to do the next layer. I'm just repeating the same thing over again. So I don't show it because it's just me repeating the same thing again, but I did the same thing for the lid with the pieces that were left. And now I am going to glue 2 tower blocks in each corner. You could glue these on the inside of the lid if you wanted to, and then you could put some fabric or something to line this and cover up those gaps in the tower blocks if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that, but giving you some ideas. And then I just make sure the lid fits on before the glue dries, and then I left it to dry with the lid on. And now I have some Das air dry clay and the silicone mould, and I will link this stuff down below. I just put some cooking oil in the mould, and then I press the clay in and then cut off any excess, and then just turn it over and pop it out the mould. And I'm using some tacky glue. You can get it at Dollar Tree. This is a much bigger bottle I got from Amazon. And then I am just placing the mould on the top of it, pressing it gently down, and it fits perfect in that space, and it was the right length as well. And I'm just rolling up some more. I'm just going to repeat the same thing all around the box. So I'm just going to show you me doing one of the sides, and then I'll show you the next step. So I made 2 of the moulds, and now I'm just going to brush some tacky glue on to put them in place, and this is on the lid, and I'm just leaving a space between the edge of the lid and the mould, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And I'm just cutting the corners off because I want to piece this together. So I'm just going to repeat the same thing all the way around so it makes a rectangle. And I'm just using an X-Acto knife and trying to cut it in the right place, and then push it together. Okay, so I did the rest off camera, and now I am making this flower for the middle of the lid, and I put way too much clay in there. So I'm just taking it out. I'll take it off the excess. This mould was also from Amazon, and I will link everything that I got from Amazon in the description box down below. So just smoothing it out and making sure that I've pushed it all in. And then I'm applying some tacky glue in the middle. And then just put it in place. And now I'm painting it while the paint is still wet, because someone said that it doesn't shrink as much if you do that. And I am just using some black paint, just some apple barrel black paint. And if it was not late at night, I would have taken it outside and spray painted it, because it would have been quicker. So I did just give it one thick coat, and then the next day I just touched up any parts because the clay shrinks and I needed a touch up. You could give it a whole other coat if you wanted to, but you can paint this any colour you like. I chose black because it is my favourite. And now I'm going to use some autumn gold rub and buff. And the box, I think it looks nice, just plain black. I don't know if you can see on camera. Definitely gave me some ideas for Halloween. And I'm just rubbing on the rub and buff with a paintbrush because I don't want to get it on the tower blocks. And just bringing out all the detail from the clay. So I'm just applying it to the flower and the clay on the top of the lid. If you made this trinket box, what colours would you use for it? I was thinking blue, but then I haven't used my paints in so long. Most of them are dried up, so we'll have to go and buy some more. So I thought black would be good with the rub and buff, and I really love this autumn gold colour. I'm just touching up with some black paint anywhere that I got the rub and buff and I didn't want it to be. So now I'm just taking the side of a flat brush and the rub and buff, and I'm just lightly putting on all the edges of the tower blocks. And I love how this turned out. If you didn't want to use clay, you could use some ribbon to go around the sides, or you could use the stickers from Dollar Tree and then just paint over them and then use the rub and buff or some paint. And then this is the inside. If I'd had enough clay left, I would have used another mould and put it inside to cover up those tower blocks. You could always use some fabric or scrapbook paper. For this DIY you need 123 tower blocks, which is 2 boxes, and some wood glue. So I'm gluing together a row of 7 tower blocks, and then 1 tower block facing the other way, a geometric bead, and then another tower block, and then another 7 on the other side. And I made 2 of these because one is the lid and one is the base. And now I am making 8 of these sets of 6 tower blocks. And just putting a wee bit glue in the part of the hole that's showing on these geometric beads. I'll also link them down below. And then I am putting a tower block on each end of these. And now I'm gluing 3 geometric beads to each side of 2 of the pieces. For what I'm doing with this DIY, it doesn't really matter what way the holes are showing. It'd probably be better if I didn't have any holes shown at all. But if you are going to make this and you're not going to do the same thing as me, then I wouldn't have the holes showing at the sides, just at the top and the bottom. So now I am just gluing it together to form a square. So this is going to be for the lid, and because those pieces I made at the start don't fit perfectly inside of these the sides, I am gluing these geometric beads on the inside of the lid, and I did have to leave a wee gap in between each of them So I'm just putting some glue on each of these geometric beads and then on the sides of this piece, even though the sides don't touch. And then I turned it upside down and then placed it on top of all the geometric beads. And then this is what it looks like. And I just use a paintbrush to get rid of any excess glue. And if you wanted to, you could use some wee half beads to cover up the holes. But I'm going to use something else, which you'll see soon. And for the base, I am gluing together, I'm gluing 3 geometric beads on each side of 2 of the pieces to make a square like I did before. And then I'm going to glue together my pieces to make the square. So I'm just checking that it all matches up, and you can just turn it round because one of the ways will look the best. And now I turned it upside down and then I put the base inside it. And now I am just going to glue tower blocks all the way around the inside because it's going to help keep the lid on and also to cover up the gaps because it doesn't fit perfectly. And for this one, I didn't have this hole showing on the top here because I cannot put what I'm going to put on it on there because of the lid. So I'm going to glue some 4 half beads to the bottom of this, and then I'm going to cover up the holes. My wood glue was completely dried out. I didn't want to try and fix it, so I'm just using some air dry clay. Also, the spackle was totally dried out, and I did put some water in it and it just became this weird texture, so I'm just using this and it worked out fine. And I do this on the lid as well, and because I'm going to paint this, you can't even notice that I put clay in it. And then when it was dry, I just gave it a wee sand down. And then I mixed some plaster chalk paint with some water. And I'm just gonna paint that on all over the box. And I'm using some tacky glue, and I'm using it to glue on these wee mosaic tiles that I got from Amazon. I got some blue ones, but there's all different colours, and they fit perfect on these geometric beads. I bought them years ago and then I found them. I'm like, I need to do something with these. So I'm trying to use up a lot of stuff in my craft room. So I'm just gluing one of these to each of the geometric beads. And I did it on the sides as well. I don't know if that was too much. Putting it on the sides as well, but definitely like it on the top. I can't remember what I bought these for, but I will link them down below if you want to get some or you want to get a different colour. And this is how it turned out. I don't know, take them on the sides is a bit much. I could always take them off. But I don't know, let me know what you think. And I'm going to show you what it looks like on the inside and the next clip. I could always make the bottom part bigger and make it a tray. Let me know what you think in the comments. My favourite one is definitely the black one.
For this DIY you need 48 blocks, which is 1 pack of tower blocks, and some wood glue. I'm going to glue together blocks in sets of 2, and then I'm going to have them going round facing the opposite direction, if that makes sense, to make a square. And then I am going to glue 2 tower blocks on each side. And just make sure you squeeze them together and then wipe off any excess glue with a wet cloth. And I have a geometric bead here, I will link them down below. I'm just popping one in the middle there, and then I am putting a wee half bead on top to cover the hole. And I made 2 of these because one is going to be the base and one is going to be the lid. And then I am just making another square the same size as these. And now I'm just using these tower blocks just so I can glue these geometric beads together in a straight line, and then I just squeeze them together, and there is 7 of them. I glued them all together with the holes facing up the way, and now I'm going to glue them onto that square that I made, but I did turn it over so that I would be gluing the beads to the flat side. And now I am just adding another 5 beads on each side. I'm just checking it's all going to fit right before I glue it down. These beads are like the tower blocks, they're not all the same size. And I do have to leave a wee tiny gap between some of them so that it can join up to the other side. And then I'm just gluing the other side on now. And I'm just putting glue on all these beads so that I can glue the top of the lid on. And I'm just putting a wee bead on the inside just to cover up that hole. And now I did that again, made another one, and now I am just gluing together the same amount of beads to glue on the other side of that piece. You see? I'm turning it over and then I'm gluing those beads on. And you see I glued them with the holes all facing each other except for the corners. This is just for, well, it doesn't matter for the underneath part because that's going to be glued to the base, but for this part that you're going to see when you open up the box, you can only have the holes there. Well, unless you wanted all the holes, but I do fill them in with wood filler. That's all I can do with them really. I wish I could get some that don't have any holes in them. I'm just gluing on the last piece now. And then I'm going to glue it to the base. If you want to, you can make more levels and make this taller. I'm just filling in those holes with some wood filler. Now the wood filler says that it's stainable, but it's not. I don't know if anybody knows one that actually does take a stain, and they can let me know in the comments. I'm just wiping off the excess that got on the beads, and then I'm being a bit more careful this time, putting in the holes. So I'm going to let that dry, and while it's drying I am going to glue on some half beads for feet on the bottom. And now I'm just using my finger sander and I'm just sanding off the excess wood filler. I like that that one is pink and then it changes colour when it dries. So now I am just gluing 2 tower blocks in each corner, and this is to hold the lid in place. I like to put the lid on while it dries so that you know it's definitely going to fit. I stained it with some special walnut Minwax stain, and this is how it turned out. And I love how it turned out, except for I should have made all the levels with the end blocks all facing the same way. That's because I turned one over and I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So you guys, if you're making it, just think about that. And this is what it looks like on the inside. Of course, you can use your favourite paint colours or stain for this. For this DIY you need 144 blocks, so that's 2 boxes, and some wood glue. So I'm gluing 4 tower blocks end to end. I'm going to do that on each side, and then I am doing 5 rows of 12. And I like to lay them out and fit them all together before I glue them, and then you can swap out any ones that are too short or too long, and then make sure that you get a good fit, or the best fit you can get with the tower blocks. I'm just going to cut this and then just show you me gluing the last few on. Now I'm going to glue together 16 blocks. The first one is going to be on its side, and then the next 14 are going to be on their back, and then the last one will be on its side. And I made 2 of them, as these are for the 2 long sides of the tray. And I'm gluing together 11 blocks. I'm doing the same thing, the first one on its side, and then 9 on their lying flat, and then the last one on its side, and I made 2 of those as well. So now I am making an L shape, which is 4 tower blocks high, and then 5 tower blocks across. And I made 2 of them, and I'm just going to glue them together. And now I have 4 tower blocks, and I'm going to glue 3 of these wee half beads on each of them. And I'm going to evenly space them. You don't have to do this, I just wanted to put a wee bit extra decoration on this. I'm flipping the base over so that I can stick everything to the flat side. And then I'm going to glue all the sides on. You see I put them right to the edge of the tower blocks. And now I am going to glue those tower blocks on each corner. And I'm just using a paintbrush just to get any excess glue out those corners. And then I am going to glue the other piece on top. And I'm just gluing on 4 half beads on the bottom for feet. And I stained it with the special walnut wood stain. And this is how it turned out. It's a simple but nice tray. I don't have anything to style it with, so you're going to keep seeing the same 3 things in all these trays that I make. Actually, I do have stuff, but it's all in the garage and I can't be bothered going in there. So you do 102 blocks for this DIY, which is 2 boxes, and some wood glue. And I'm making 2 of these, so I glue together 2 tower blocks on their side on the bottom, and then I place a tower block at the edge, but I don't glue it down. Then I glue 1 on its side, 3 in the middle, and then I glue another one on the other side. And this time I glued 2 tower blocks at the bottom, and the end ones are on their side, and then there is 5 in the middle. And the tower blocks don't quite fit, so I do push them over to the corners, and then I'm going to fill in those spaces with some wood filler. And now I am gluing together 8 tower blocks, 4 on each side. And then this is a wood filler that I got, just in case you're wondering. It doesn't take the stain though, it says stainable. I don't know if any of them do. This is only the second wood filler I've tried. I tried the Minwax one and I didn't like that one at all. This one is at least better, easier to use. So I'm just filling in all those pieces before I glue them together. You could do them after if you want to, or maybe your tower blocks might be the right length. And I'm going to paint this, so that's why I don't mind using the wood glue on it. So once it's dry, I'm just sanding it down. Now I'm going to fit all these pieces together. So I am just going to glue the base and then glue everything in place. There's a gap at one side, so I did put some wood filler in there. I don't know if I filmed that part. And now I am gluing a tower block in each corner. So I made 2 of these because one is the base and one is the lid, and what I would do is I would make them both first before you glue these corner pieces on, and then put them together so that you can match the corner pieces up properly. Now here I am putting some of the wood filler on. And now I am putting some tower blocks in the bottom of the base so that I can glue the tower blocks in the corners, and they will be taller than the base so that the lid will stay on. I do have to cut down 2. And now I'm just going to glue 2 tower blocks in each corner like I did for the first box. And then I put the lid on, make sure that it fits, and then leave it to dry. So I am going to glue a half bead in each corner on the lid. And these ones are a bit bigger than the ones I'm going to use on the sides. You could have done that bit first if you put them on first if you want to. I wasn't sure if I was going to put them on, but then I decided that I did want to put them on. So I think the ones on top are 15mm or 12, and then the smaller ones are 10mm, but I will link them down below. And now I'm going to use some liquid Sculpey that I got from Amazon. I'll link it down below. And then these molds that I got from Etsy. I'm just putting it inside all of the butterflies, and then I'm spreading it out. This is my first time using this, so I'm just spreading in, making sure it gets in all the butterflies. So these molds I actually got by accident because the one that I ordered got lost in the post, and then the lady was nice, she gave me a refund. And then about a week later, a package from her turned up, but it was these butterfly molds, which is not what I ordered. So I let her know in case she want me to, I don't know if she want me to return them. I was hoping that someone had said that they got my mold by accident. But she was nice, she said I can just keep them. So yeah, but I was sad because that mold that I really wanted was the last one. I can't find it anywhere on the internet. Oh my god, what's it called? The internet. But this mold, actually, the butterflies turned out nice, but the molds, they were like uneven. There was like dips in them. One is a bit better than the other, so I'm glad I got them for free. But the butterflies did turn nice, and I definitely will use it again. But compared to the ones that I got from Amazon, yeah, these ones, when I did put the scraper across, it was pulling the stuff out instead. I almost forgot to tell you what to do with a liquid Sculpey. So you set your oven to 275 degrees, and then you pop them in the oven for 15 minutes. Well, it says 15 minutes per 1/4 inch, so these were really thin, so I did 15 minutes, and then once it cooled down, you can see me taking them out. I did have to make 3 sets of this. Well, I had to put another one in the oven, but when this stuff dries, it's still flexible, so it's actually quite good. And then I'm going to use some tacky glue to glue the butterflies onto the box. I did try making the butterflies with the caulk, but it just didn't work in those molds. But the liquid Sculpey worked. So I just need to use different things for different molds. And I'm going to cover all the sides of the box with these butterflies. I painted the whole thing with this Cottage Rose folk art paint, and now I'm going to use some gold leaf rub and buff. I lost the lid for it. So I'm just going to rub it over the butterflies with my finger. And you could use paint for this if you don't have rub and buff, but I'll link it down below anyway. And you can use any colour scheme that you like for this. I was going to do a light blue and silver rub and buff because I really wanted to use a silver rub and buff, but then I changed my mind and decided to do pink and gold. I'm glad I changed my mind. And I'm just using a brush here just to brush it on all the half beads. And then I was using it on the sides, but then I started using my finger as well. So I do this on all the sides and the bottom of the lid, and then that top part of the base that you can see all the tower blocks standing up. I did it all over that as well. But I'm not going to show you me doing the whole thing. And then I also went round all the edges. I have this knob and it's silver on the bottom, so I'm just going to colour it gold with rub and buff. And then I decided just to cover the whole thing in rub and buff. This is me deciding. And I did 2 coats of rub and buff on it. I'm drilling a hole in the top so that I can screw my knob on. But then the screw wasn't long enough, so I did have to make the hole wider on the inside so that the screw could sit in it a bit more, and then it fit fine. And I think I might give this a clear coat. I'll spray a clear coat on it, but I have to go outside to do that. So maybe tomorrow. And this is how it turned out. I think it turned out so pretty. This is it when it's closed, and then I'll show you it when it's open. And you could use the laser cutouts from Dollar Tree or the stickers and then paint over them and then use the rub and buff. It's up to you, whatever you like you can put on this, or you might just want to leave it plain.
For this DIY you need 51 blocks, so you need 1 box of tower blocks and some wood glue. I'm gluing the first block standing on its side, and then the next 5 lying flat, and then the last one on its side. And then I'm going to position 2 like this. And then I'm going to cut off the corners of this piece that I'm marking off. I'm going to try and cut it as best I can so that I can join this all up together. I'm just using my miter shears to do that, and actually it was really easy to cut the corners. It was easy to cut them, but the measuring part, getting it right wasn't so easy. You see me fiddling around with it. So I ended up taking another block and then marking it off so that I didn't cut quite as much off, and then that fit better. This is me just marking that one off now, and that one fit better and I was able to glue it together. To make sure I get it the right way around. and just sanding off any extra bits that the lighter shades didn't cut off. Because sometimes the blocks like splinter and stuff. So I'm just going to glue that all together, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I just put some extra glue. And this side went a bit easier since I'd already done one side. Once that dried, I just reinforced it with some hot glue on the top and the bottom. And now I am making the sides, and I just put one tower block at the bottom and then 3 up each side and then another one at the top, and I made 6 of those all together. I stained all the pieces with some Minwax in the colour Special Walnut, and I have some cream burlap from Walmart, so I'm just going to cut it down and then hot glue it on the inside of each of these pieces. Just watch, don't burn your fingers. And now I am going to glue it all together. If you wanted, you could just add the extra tower block on the bottom, but I was going to do this going across the pointy parts of the base, but I didn't like how it looked, so I took it off, and now I'm doing it like this, and it looks much better. So yeah, you could just glue those pieces on at the start. And then I'm just going to tape the tops so that the glue sets the pieces in the right place. And once the glue was dry, I just reinforced each corner with some hot glue. What do you think of the Special Walnut stain? I think I like it. It's a bit lighter than the Early American that I used to always use, and it turned out the exact same shade as the Waverly Antique Wax that I watered down in the last video. So this is it. I think it turned out really nice. If you wanted, you can make a bigger version and have a bigger space for the burlap. You need 104 blocks for this DIY, which is 2 boxes, and some wood glue. And I am gluing together 4 tower blocks on either side, end to end, and then 5 rows of 12 blocks. And I like to fit it all together before I glue it, just to make sure that the blocks are going to fit as best they can, and then you can swap out if any are longer, or too long or too short. If you do them in the sections, then they don't fit, and then glue them together after that, they don't fit together as well. Now I am making this piece, which is 4 high and then 5 across. and I make 2 of those. And once they're dry, I'm just joining them together. And now I'm making 2 pieces which are 5 tower blocks. And I'm turning the first piece that I made over because I want the flat side that was on the bottom to be on the top. And I am just gluing one of these pieces on each side, and I'm doing it to the inside edge of the first tower block. And then I'm going to do the same on this side, but I do have to cut a piece. So I'm just going to mark that off and then cut it down with a miter shear. Sand off the rough edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'll do the other side off camera. And then I'm going to glue the last piece on the top. And now I'm just gluing on some half beads or paint. I stained it with the Minwax Special Walnut. I have some of the Dollar Tree stickers here, so I am just going to stick them in this space on the tray. You can also make this tray bigger if you want. I just didn't want to use 2 blocks because I have more videos to make. But you could definitely make it much bigger. So I'm just going to stick them all the way around. And if you watched my last tower block video where I did this with the clay, I just wanted you guys to see what it looked like if you do use the stickers. And you could also use a ribbon there too. I'm going to paint the middle part over the stickers with some truffle Waverly chalk paint. And you can use any colour you want for this, or any colour stain. And just try and be careful not to get it on the tower blocks. Since I wasn't being too careful and got it on the tower blocks, I'm just taking my scissors and scraping off the excess paint. And now I'm going to use some antique gold rub and buff. And I'm just using a flat paintbrush, and I am rubbing the rub and buff over the sticker to bring out all the detail. If you don't have rub and buff, you could always use paint for this in whichever colour you like the best. And this is how it turned out. Don't look at my bad paint job. But I do think it did turn out really nice. I do love that brown colour with the wood. You need 101 tower blocks for this DIY, so that's 2 boxes and some wood glue. So I'm gluing 3 tower blocks on each side, end to end, and then 4 rows of 9 tower blocks in the middle. And you could also make this bigger if you wanted to. I just made it a riser, but you could make it bigger and make it a tray. I am now gluing tower blocks around the outside of this, standing on their side. But for the longer sides, I do have to leave a wee gap in between each of them because I want the corners to match up, and they're not quite long enough. So I'll just leave a wee gap, but I do fill that in later on. Just try and evenly space them. And now I am gluing some tower blocks standing on their side on the inside of the tray. No, it's a riser. Inside of the riser, my god. And doing that on each side. And then I'm going to do it on the longer sides. But I do have to cut a tower block down in the middle. So I'm just going to measure it and then cut it with my miter shears. And just sanding off any rough edges if I have to. And I did the other side. So now I'm going in with some more tower blocks and I am laying them down flat. And I do have to cut these down. Well, I do have to cut down some tower blocks to fill in the gaps. So I just do the same thing, I just measure and then cut down with my miter shears. Seems like a lot, but it actually was pretty quick. I'm just going to do the other two sides now. And now I am going to go around again and glue some more tower blocks standing on their side, and I do have to cut down some more tower blocks. So I'm just measuring them again, and I have to do the same thing for all the sides. If you make this bigger, maybe you wouldn't have to cut down so many, I don't know. It honestly didn't take long though. And yeah, just wipe off any excess glue with a damp cloth. And I'm going to glue 4 half beads on the bottom for feet. And then I went and got some Elmer's wood glue. Because I remember someone ages ago told me, or left a comment saying it was good. And it says it's stainable, so I'm trying it out. I need to fill those gaps. And once you stain it, they wouldn't be that noticeable anyway. But I'm going to fill them in and then see if this is actually stainable or not. So I'm just pushing it in all the gaps, and then I'm going to leave it to dry. It's like a pink colour and it dries. Once it's dry, it looks like natural wood. And then once it's dry, I am going to sand it down. So I had a tube of the Minwax wood filler, but it wasn't good. And it definitely wasn't stainable. And yeah, so that's why I never used it. And the whole tube dried up pretty quick after I used it once, so I don't recommend that one. Once I sanded it, I just wiped it all down with a wet cloth. And then I stained it with the special walnut stain. And this is how it turned out. And you can see that it did not stain. The wood filler doesn't stain. It says it's stainable, but I didn't take the stain. DIYs. For the first DIY, you need 79 blocks, which is 2 boxes of tower blocks and some wood glue. And I am putting together 7 sets of 4 tower blocks glued end to end. Now I'm going to glue these together. I'm going to stand one on its side, and if there is you want to have the straight side that was against the ruler when you made it, the one facing up. And then I'm going to put the next one lying flat on its back. And then the next one is going to be on its side. And I'm going to repeat that until I have glued them all together. And you need to make 4 of these because it's going to be a planter, and obviously it has 4 sides. If you want, you can add more tower blocks and make it taller, or you can make it shorter, and you can also make it wider if you wanted a much wider planter. And I'm just making a square for the base, and I want the base to sit inside the planter, but if you wanted it to, and it doesn't quite fit properly, I'll show you later on in the video, you can always put extra row of tower blocks all the way around and have it on the very bottom of the planter. And then you would see the base, obviously. So I'm just gluing it together now. I'm just using some extra tower blocks to hold it together. The base to be hidden on this, but it would look just as good if you did put a bigger base on the bottom. I'm just going to keep gluing the tower blocks on. You could use hot glue for this part if you wanted it to hold together straight away. So you can see there is a gap, and that's why I needed these extra tower blocks. But then once it's all dry, it's fine, it's not going to come apart. And you're going to put plant in there, so you won't even notice that. And then I put them to hold the sides together. I painted it with some flat black spray paint. And here are some mirror tiles. I will link them down below in the description box. I got them from Amazon. And I'm just using some Dollar Tree Fix-All glue, because they are self-adhesive, but I don't know how long the glue will last, so I'm putting that on first for a more permanent hold. And this is how it turned out. Of course, you don't have to put mirror tiles, you could just stain this. You could put the mirror tiles in between the parts that are sticking out. You can also spray it silver, you can make it any colour you want. You can put rhinestones on, you can do that with any of my tower block DIYs. For this DIY you need 128 blocks, which is 2 boxes, and some wood glue. The base of this is going to be a tray. It is 11 blocks high and 5 blocks across, and I'm just going to glue them all together. I like to put them together like this first because then you can fit them in better and then take out any that are bigger or smaller and try and get a best rectangle that you can. As you know, the blocks are not all the same size. I pushed them too hard there. Yeah, just make sure you squeeze them all together, and you can always take a hand sander and sand down the edges if there's blocks sticking out. On mine there is one, but I don't have a hand sander. I should buy one. But yeah, you can make it more smooth by doing that. So here it is, and I'm turning it over because I want the flat side to be the top of the base of the tray. And I'm making 2 sets of 5 tower blocks glued end to end. And then I'm making 2 sets of 3 tower blocks glued end to end. And then I am going to glue those together. And I am making sure the outside edge of this is the tower blocks that were against the ruler when I put them together, because that is the smoothest side. And I made sure these blocks were all the same size, and I'm just gluing 2 in each corner. And I needed them to be the same size because I'm going to glue the other piece on the top. I wanted to do some glam tower block DIYs just to give you guys more ideas on what you can do with the tower blocks. You can use the rhinestone stickers from Dollar Tree. You can use bling wrap or the diamond bling. And yeah, if you like bling better, then you can put any of that stuff on these. If you don't like black, you can paint them silver or gold, whatever colour you like best. And just making sure that the edges of the tower block are all flush. I'm just going to glue some half beads on the bottom, and I put them in a wee bit because I don't want them to be seen. I sprayed it with some flat black spray paint. And I am using the mirror tiles again. Just measure how many you need, and then you can fold them over and then cut them with an X-Acto blade. And I was going to do 1 row of the mirror tiles on this, but I think 2 look better. It is a little bit bigger than the width of the tower block, but you can't notice once they're all on. I'm just adding on the fix-all glue with a craft stick. So the mirror tiles are not exactly the same length as the going across that part of the tray. So if it bothers you seeing the black corners, you could always paint them silver and then it'll be less noticeable. But it doesn't bother me, so I just left them. Also, if you painted it silver, you wouldn't notice that either. So just measuring and cutting down the middle parts now, and then I'll do the rest off camera, but I do it the same thing around each side. You can always put mirror tiles along the top, along those inside corner bits. You can just do whatever you like and make it your own. I don't have anything to glam to style this with. For this DIY you need 66 blocks, which is just one box of tower blocks, and some wood glue. I'm just making a square like I did for the first DIY, and then I'm going to put the tower blocks around it, which is what you can do for the first DIY as well if you wanted to make the base bigger. I'm just going to glue one row of tower blocks around the outside of this square. Just make sure you squeeze it all together and then wipe away any excess glue. That tower block was a bit short, so you can always just swap them out and fit a bigger one or a smaller one if you need to. And here I am making a square with 8 tower blocks. I actually show you 2 in the next clip, but I ended up making 3 altogether because I changed how I was going to make this lantern. So I had to make sure all these blocks that I'm gluing on the corners were all the same size. This packet, well, these couple of packs I got from Dollar Tree, usually the blocks aren't too bad, there'll be like 1 or 2 smaller ones, but there was a lot of smaller ones in this one. And ones with like a kind of angled, one of the ends was angled, so we couldn't stick them together. So I'm just gluing these in the corners like I did the last DIY. And then I'm going to glue one of those squares on top of that. I'm going to make sure that all the tower blocks that are standing up are flush with that square on the top. And then I'm going to repeat this again. I'm making sure all these blocks were the same size. And then once I put this piece on, I did put something heavy on top until the glue set up before I moved on to the next part. And that's what it's looking like. So you could stop there if you wanted. And now I'm just doing the next layer. Just doing the exact same thing as I did for the last 2. If you guys make any of my DIYs, I would love to see. You can either tag me on my Bonnie Bling's Instagram or send me a message on it with a picture. Don't go on it all the time. I go on it when I post pictures of my DIYs, but I don't go on there every day, so I will see it eventually and get back to you. But some people have already sent me pictures, and I love when they've taken inspiration and change it up a bit. I love seeing other people's ideas. So that's the last piece. You can make it taller if you want to. And then I'm going to put something heavy on it until it sets up. And this is how it looks. I'm just putting some half beads on the bottom for feet. I spray it with the flat black spray paint. So I'm just going to glue on the mirror tiles, just doing the same thing as I did before. I did have to buy 2 packs of mirror tiles to make all these DIYs, but if you're just making one of them, then 1 pack is enough. I needed the second pack to make this 3rd DIY, so the first pack that I bought covered the other 2 DIYs. You could put it on the inside of those corners as well. That would look nice. Or even just on those parts. And then you can put it on the tops of all the levels. It's up to you really what you want to do. I'll just show you me sticking on a few of the tiles, and then obviously I did them on all sides, and I'll do the rest off camera. And then when you cut them, you can easily match them up with whatever tiles you've already stuck down. And this is how it turned out. I'm not sure if I like this one or the first one the best. Let me know in the comments which one is your favourite.
You need 104 blocks for this DIY, which is 2 boxes and some wood glue. For the end pieces, I'm gluing 4 tower blocks end to end, and then in the middle there is 5 rows of tower blocks, and they are 12 tower blocks high. And I like to fit it all together before I glue it all to make sure it's all going to fit nicely. And it's not going to fit perfect, but you can get it as good as you can with these tower blocks, because none of them are the same size. So don't worry too much if they're not perfect. It's still going to look good in the end. Now you can always sand down the edges and stuff if you want to. So I'm just making an easy tray for this first DIY, but I'm going to use this tray in the next DIY, and then at the end I'm going to show you that you can put it together with third DIY, if that makes sense. Now I'm gluing together 4 tower blocks high and then 5 tower blocks across, and I'm going to make 2 of these. And once they're dry, I am going to glue them together. And then I am going to glue geometric beads all the way around this. And for everything that I made in the video, I used 400 of the geometric beads, which is a whole pack. You get 300 in a pack, and then I use another 100. But you don't have to use that many because you're probably not going to make all these DIYs. So you can just pick whichever one you want to make, and then I'm going to tell you how many beads that you'll need for it. Maybe you could use the round beads. I don't know, I've never tried. And these are like the tower blocks. They're not all made the same size. So I did have to leave a tiny wee gap in between each one to make sure that they fit all the way around. And now I am just adding some more glue. And as you can see, I have all the holes facing up the way. So just applying glue to them all, and then I will attach it to the other piece. And the other piece I did turn upside down there, and then I'm putting this on top. And now I am just going to glue some tower blocks on the bottom. If you're just making the tray, you could just use some half beads, but I want this to fit inside the next DIY. And you have to make sure where you place these tower blocks that it's going to fit inside. because it's going to be a lid. And then I stained it with the special walnut wood stain, and this is how it turned out. And don't forget to wipe off all your glue properly, because you can see that I didn't. Just don't DIY at 2 in the morning when you're tired. For this DIY, you need to make 2 of the trays that I just made, and you need 406 blocks altogether, so that's 6 boxes and 150 geometric beads and some wood glue. So I'm just gluing together 16 tower blocks, but the end ones are standing on their side and the middle ones are flat, and I made 2 of these. And this is 2 sets of 11 with the end tower blocks standing on their side and the middle ones flat. And I already made one of those trays, so I am just gluing these pieces on the sides. And make sure you rub away your wood glue better than I did. But if you paint it, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're staining it, then make sure you wipe it away properly. I'm just gluing the end pieces on now. So I'm just gluing 3 of the geometric beads in each corner, and have all the holes facing up the way. I'm just taking a paintbrush to get rid of any excess glue. So that's what it looks like. So if you wanted to just make this a tray like this, then you could put the half bead on top. But because I'm going to be putting the tray from the first DIY on top of this, I'm filling in these holes with some wood filler. And then once it's dry, I just took my finger sander and sanded it down. This piece is the bottom of my jewellery box trinket tray, and then the tray that I made first is going to fit on top of this piece. So I'm just gluing some half beads on the bottom, and now I am going to make the lid. So I'm gluing together 5 tower blocks across the bottom, and then 5 tower blocks across the top, and then 3 rows of 15 tower blocks in the middle. I know this DIY uses a lot of blocks, but it would make a nice present, Christmas present, or a birthday present for someone. I'm just staying in mines, but you could paint these any color you like. You could even do 2 different stains, or just paint the beads, or leave the beads unfinished. It's up to you what you like. I'm making 2 L shapes that are facing this way, and then 2 L shapes that are facing the other way. And then I'm going to put them together like this to make a rectangle. And then I am going to measure and cut down a tower block to fit in between each of these pieces. I'm just sanding down any rough edges. And then I'm just gluing those pieces in place. And then I turned it over, and then I am just going to fit these geometric beads all the way around. And then I have to leave a wee gap in between them all just to space them out and make sure they fit all the way across. And then I glued them all down. I don't think I show you me doing them all. And then when it's dry, I'm just put some glue on the other side. And then I turned over that other piece that I made, and then I am going to glue that on top. And just get rid of any excess glue. And now I am gluing in some more tower blocks on the inside of that, because I need the geometric beads to be raised up so they are level with the piece that I just glued on. And I used 2 of the little pieces that I cut off as well, used them up. So I already glued down a row of geometric beads, and now I am just gluing in some tower blocks on their side. And then I have to measure a tower block to go in, fill in those gaps. And then I just glue those pieces in place. And then I glued the geometric beads in the middle, and I put them all in there first just to make sure that they would all fit. And this one did not want to go in. So when you take them out, you have to make sure you put them back in the same way as when you did the dry fit. I put 2 tower blocks in each corner lying flat, and then the next ones on top or on their side Then I'm going to glue those ones together and then put some glue on the top because I want them to stick to the part that's at the side that I'm going to stick on top right now. I don't want them to stick to the piece that they're sitting in. Just to make sure the lid's going to fit properly. And then I stained everything with some special walnut wood stain. And then this is it all together with the other tray and the lid. And I'm going to show you what it looks like when you take the different parts off. So this is it's got two different compartments. So you can put different things in each of them, like different maybe earrings in one and necklaces or whatever you want to put in it. And then this is just without the lid on, and then this is without the tray on. You could just make it with just the tray on the top and not the lid if you wanted to. For this DIY, you need 154 blocks, which is 3 boxes, and some wood glue. So I'm going to glue together 5 tower blocks across and 10 tower blocks high. And then I glued a layer of geometric beads all around the outside. I made sure I spaced them apart. I have 4 tower blocks along the top and the bottom and 2 on each side. And then I am going to cut down a tower block to put in the middle of the 2 longer sides. And then I'm going to glue all that together. So I made 2 of these and then I glued some geometric beads on one of them and then I glued them together. And now I realized I needed another layer of these, or another layer of tower blocks. And now I am just gluing a layer of geometric beads all around the inside. And you do have to space them apart a little bit, but once everything is all stained, you don't even notice that. I did it all with the holes facing up. So here's where I went wrong. I glued that extra layer on this and then it didn't fit in there. So luckily it was still wet and I could take it off, and now I am gluing that extra layer on here and then I'm going to glue the other part on top. And now I'm making 2 sets of 3 tower blocks and then 2 sets of 2, and then I'm going to glue all those together to make a rectangle. And I need this part to fit inside the top part, well, inside there, so I am just sanding it down, both pieces, until it can easily fit inside. Here's me sanding some more. because I make these things up as I go along, so you'd probably be better making this one, making this part, make sure it fits in there before you glue it all together. It didn't take long to sand down anyway. And then I realized I made 2 of these, but I needed one of them to have tower blocks in the middle. So I'm just this like 3 rows of 4 tower blocks in the middle of that to fill it up. And then I glued on the geometric beads, and then I glued the other part on the top. And now I am gluing a layer of tower blocks to make the geometric beads that are going to be in the middle higher. Oh, flush with the top of the tower blocks. Sorry, I'm extremely tired. I'm 6 months pregnant now, and I'm just so tired. I've been putting off this voiceover for a week. Because I've just been too tired to do it. So I'm just filling it in with the geometric beads like I did the last DIY. If you wanted to, you could put some scrapbook paper in here, or you could fill it up with something else. I don't know what, but use your imagination. You don't have to do the geometric beads. So now I'm gluing those 2 pieces together, the one that I had to sand down, and then I realized that I need to put some tower blocks in each corner, so that's what I'm doing just now. Just making sure they're the same height, and then I'm going to glue them in, and then the lid, it wasn't glued yet, the glue wasn't dry. And then that will sit on top of those tower blocks. So I'm just gluing some half beads on the bottom. And then I stained it with the special walnut wood stain. And this is how it turned out. And this is what it looks like with the lid off. And here it is with the tray that I made at the very start of the video, if you wanted to stack it up and make it 4 high. And then you have another compartment to put stuff in. And this is what it looks like with the 2 different compartments. And then this is what it looks like with the first DIY minus the second tray, and then the last DIY on top of it if you wanted to really go over the top. And for the first DIY you need 158 blocks, which is 3 boxes of tower blocks and some wood glue. I made 2 sets of 8 tower blocks across and 2 blocks high, so that's 16 in each. And I like to dry fit them all together so you can swap out any bigger or smaller ones and swap them around and make sure that the edges are as straight as you can get them. And I wipe off any excess glue. And I made 2 of these, and they are 16 blocks across and 2 blocks high, so 32 in each. I used my last boxes of tower blocks to make these DIYs, so I don't know, I'm order some again soon, but I'm going to take a break from tower blocks for a while. But I will come back to them because I do have lots more ideas for them. There's 28 blocks in this part, and the 2 sides are 8 blocks high, and then 3 across in the middle, and I doubled them up. If you want to, you could make the space, the rectangle in the middle, smaller than this, once you see what I'm making. And now I'm just leaving it as it is, and then I'm going to glue all the sides on. But I'm gluing them with the flat side that was on the table to the outside. And I put some extra glue on the inside there because my tower blocks had a wee gap. So now I'm making 2 of these, and they are 3 blocks each. And then 2 of these, which are 5 blocks each, all end to end. And then I am going to glue them together. And then I just have to cut down 1 block for the end there. And I made 2 of these. And now I'm just going to glue everything together. I made sure there was the same amount of space around the outside of this, and then I did the same with the top. You can guide it with the tower blocks that are in the middle there, and then when you turn it over you can see. And then I tried this white, Simply White wood stain by Minwax, because I got sent it by accident when I ordered special walnut, so I kept it to see what it was like, and it didn't make it that white, but it definitely looks better than the plain tower blocks. Anyway, I have some peel and stick wallpaper from Dollar Tree, so I am just attaching that to the side and then smoothing it out, and then I'm taking an X-Acto knife to cut off any excess, and I'm going to do that to all the sides, and then I also did it to the top. I don't know how long the wallpaper will stick for. You can always put some extra glue down or Mod Podge over it or whatever. I just stuck it down. I'm just fitting it right into the corners. And then smoothing it out with my wee Cricut tool. It was one from Dollar Tree. And then cutting off the excess with my X-Acto knife. And then I'm scoring off to make the hole for the top because it's going to be a tissue box. And I did fold them down at first and I was going to leave them like that. So you could do that if you want to. But then I changed my mind and decided to take my X-Acto knife along them and cut off the excess. And if I go out of frame on these DIYs, sorry, I didn't think about my big pregnant belly. I'm sitting further away from the desk now, and I didn't think about it until I'm now watching these back. So I have moved my camera forward a bit for next time. And then this is some tissues from the Dollar Tree, and it fits inside that perfectly. And you can use any of the Dollar Tree papers for this, or any peel and stick wallpaper you have lying around at home. You can also paint or stain whatever colour you like, put some beads on it. Need 119 tower blocks for this DIY, which is 2 boxes and some wood glue. And I made 4 of these, and they are 8 blocks across and 3 blocks high. So that's 24 blocks in each. And I dry fit them all together as well. I made sure each of them were the same size. Now this is 9 blocks on each side, and then 2 at the top and the bottom in the middle. So that's 22 blocks for the top of this smaller tissue box. I want to make some practical stuff, but you can always make these or apply the peel and stick wallpaper to any boxes or little shelves, side of shelves or whatever that you make with the tower blocks. So I'm just gluing all the sides together now, and I'm gluing them to the top of the box. And what I did was I glued it twice with the flat sides facing in the way, and you need the flat side facing out the way. And I took it apart and glued it together the exact same way twice, and then I'm like, oh my god. So you need the flat side that was on the table to be on the outside, and now I am just gluing the top on. Just making sure it's centered inside that, wiping off any excess glue. And now I'm just trimming down some craft sticks, just using my miter shears. Don't have to do this part. You can also do this on the first box if you want to. So I'm just going to cut down 8 of those. Sand down the edges. I'm using some Truffle Waverly chalk paint, and it's near the end of the bottle, so I added some water to it, so it's more watery than it usually would be. And then I just brushed that on the top of the box and on the craft sticks. Again, you can use any colour paint or stain you want to, or leave it plain. You don't even have to put the peel and stick wallpaper on it. You could decoupage it, put some scrapbook paper on the sides, or apply some air dry clay mold, or it's up to you what you want to do with your DIYs. I am using this wallpaper from Dollar Tree this time, and I'm just measuring out how much I'm going to need, and then I'm going to cut it down before I stick it on. I'm just double checking here. And I'm going to do that to all the sides. Okay, I'm going to use some tacky glue, but I could have used hot glue and it would have been easier. But I'm using the tacky glue and just sticking down any corners that didn't stick down properly. And then I am going to glue on these craft sticks. I'm just gluing one on each side. And to keep these in place until the glue set, I just use some masking tape and put that over all of the craft sticks. And then I just left it to dry overnight. Then I just peeled off the masking tape the next day. And then this wee tissue box is from Dollar Tree, and then it just fits right on top. And this is how it turned out. For this DIY you need 154 tower blocks, so that's 3 boxes and some wood glue. And then I'm gluing together 2 of these L shapes. I'm gluing a row of 3 tower blocks going up the way and then 5 going across. And this time I'm gluing the 5 across, and then on top of them I am gluing the ones going up the way. And then I am going to fit them together. And then I have to cut down a tower block to fit at the end. So this is similar to the first DIY, but I did do something different for this one. And then I made 2 of these. I also used a couple less blocks. So this is 15 blocks across and 2 blocks high, and you need 2 of them, so that's 30 blocks in each. And then 2 of these, and these are 8 blocks across and 2 blocks high, so 16 blocks in each. And then 28 blocks for the top, and it is 5 blocks across, and then the sides are 9 blocks high each, and then the middle part has 2 rows of 2 blocks, just like the first one, the first DIY. And I'm just going to glue it all together, and I have the flat side that was on the table facing out the way. If you're not putting the paper on this, then it doesn't really matter. But if you want to cover it in the peel stick paper, then you've got to have the flat side facing out. So I left them to dry for like 2 minutes because I was filming, but you should do it properly. Leave it for the proper amount of time. And then I'm gluing one of these that I made earlier to the bottom. And then I'm turning it over, and then I have some geometric beads. So you can't really see what I'm doing, but I put 6 beads in each corner. And then I just glue them all in place. And then I did the rest off camera, and now I am going to glue on the top part. Just wiping off any excess glue. And then I used some Moss Waverly chalk paint. And I just gave 2 coats of paint to all the parts that are not going to have the wallpaper on them. Well, I did do like the edges of where the wallpaper is going to be. So that's what it looks like. And then I have these scrap pieces and a whole sheet of this bird wallpaper from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to try and use up as much of the scrap pieces as I can. So I'm going to put this piece with the bird down first. And I'm using the scraper just to make sure I get it right in the corners before I cut it with the X-Acto knife. And now I'm going to use another piece of the paper. I'm doing this on its side, so the other pieces that don't have birds on them, with this paper you could put the scrapbook paper any way around you like, and you can't even notice. It just looks like that's how the paper is meant to be. So if you don't like the bird part, then it looks just as nice if you just use the flower and leaf part of the paper. So I didn't have enough of the scrap paper left to do the top, but I'm going to keep all the little parts that I still have. But on the top, I didn't want any of the birds on it because half of them would have been cut off because of the hole in the middle. So I just turned the paper to the side and cut out the part that didn't have any birds on it. Just be deciding what way I'm going to have it. And then I just did the same thing. Made sure I got it right in the corners before I used my X-Acto knife. And then for the middle part, I just did the same thing I did on the other boxes and cut all the excess off with my X-Acto knife. You could put some tower blocks around the hole if you want to, if you don't want to leave it just like that. And it fits right on top of the larger tissue box. And I love how this turned out. This is the side obviously without the bird, and it looks just as nice without the birds. And the next clip I'm going to show you what it looks like with the bird. So this is definitely my favourite out of the 3 DIYs. Let me know which one is your favourite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!